Indeed, why can't we hate men? There are a lot of reasons. That's my subject on today's Flamingo File. Last week, an opinion piece came out in the Washington Post called "Why Can't We Hate Men?" The author, a gender studies professor named Susanna Walters, tried to make the case that hating men is logical because men are supposedly responsible for vast amounts of sexual and institutional violence against women. Now, the piece is full of omissions and misrepresentations, but I'm not going to address them here. Instead, I'd like to talk about the real reasons, in my opinion, why women have cause to hate men. There are reasons, I believe, ranging from the relatively trivial to the profound. So, first of all, men have a different way of being in the world, and we women find that annoying. Men can have a heated argument with a coworker and then go on as if nothing happened. With their friends, they roughhouse and insult each other, tell crude jokes, laugh and name-call without getting offended. Frankly, that easy camaraderie makes women's snits and underground rivalries look petty, and we don't like that. Second, men are physically stronger as a whole, tougher and far more competitive than women are in general, and it doesn't matter how many studies are produced to say it isn't so. The fact remains that most of what requires physical strength and courage in the world is and will be done by men. Men are so physically superior, as well as more determined and mentally tough, that top-level male athletes make millions of dollars to dazzle sports viewers with their grit, speed, and grace. We women are angered by the fact that men are paid a lot more than women for playing the same sports, because who watches women's hockey or football with the same pleasure and interest as men's? We women have complained about this fact. We've forced television networks to give equal time to women's sports despite low viewer numbers, and we've claimed till we're blue in the face that it's all a matter of cultural sabotage. But the fact remains that male athletes are a joy to behold, and that burns us up. In general also, men age better than women. A man in his 70s can still be sexy and can attract a woman half his age and can father children with her, while we women are past our sexual prime by 35. And this is cause for deep bitterness. Third, smart men's brains are really super smart and everybody can see it. Look at the list of Nobel Prize winners for chemistry, physics, and medicine, the unfakeable categories. They're almost all men. Men who dedicated their lives to intellectual pursuits for the benefit of all. We've made it a hate crime to talk about this fact, and we've bullied large corporations, fashionable companies, Western governments, and Western universities into hiring women in droves to try to disguise the fact. But the sheer power of men's brains is something that no amount of affirmative action can entirely cover up or counter, and it makes us sick with envy. It's hard not to notice also that men have a genius for humor. Nearly all the great comedians are male, and men can make us laugh even when we don't feel like laughing, and that can be pretty infuriating. It's impossible to ignore that the roll call of great artists and musicians, that's majority male as well. Fourth, and more seriously, men just do too bloody much work in the world. They're always building things like houses and roads and bridges and airplanes. The offices and classrooms that equity hiring female professors use from which to issue their condemnations of men were, of course, all built and maintained by men. Men invent things women need, like computers and cell phones. They create new technologies that give us more leisure time and make our homes more comfortable and cure our diseases and aid our disabilities and even save our lives. They work far longer hours overall than we do. They do the vast majority of work in dangerous and unpleasant conditions that we women just don't want to do. They've died by the millions in wars, and they've never made a federal case of it the way women would have if it had been us. We know, in fact, that if there was a war tomorrow, God forbid, not only could we blame men for it, but we could expect men to die by the thousands to keep us safe. And we know they wouldn't ask us to die in their place. In fact, many of them would find it intolerable even to think of us dying for them. And we know that most of us wouldn't die for them. Face it, men make us women look lazy and ungrateful, and we loathe them for it. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, men refuse to hate us despite our constantly saying they do, and their lack of hatred makes us look like hypocrites. Despite all the demands we make, the names we call men, the lies we tell about them, still the vast majority of men in the Western world treat women well. Why aren't men in a rage all the time like so many of us women seem to be? Why don't they write articles expressing their hatred? Why aren't they marching and wearing genitalia hats and standing up to give their tearful testimonies and creating whisper networks about us and working in concert to get us fired or put in prison and trying to get all the laws changed to disadvantage us as we are doing to them? A lot of men actually help us to get the laws changed to disadvantage themselves, which it's unimaginable to consider women doing. A lot of men march for our causes, even though very few of us march for theirs. So what kind of person does that? What kind of being responds to constant accusations and denigrations with decency and compassion? It makes us look vindictive and nasty. And that makes us feel vindictive and nasty. Who wouldn't hate men for that?
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please support us on Patreon. If even half of our subscribers gave us $1 per month, we'd be well on our way to creating more and better content. And don't forget to subscribe to us on StudioBrule.